All right, guys, let's do this. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Dude, it's so good to see you. I mean, Mike Posner, not even kidding. I love you. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me back.
All right, I told people behind the
Some
scenes.
things never change.
Yeah, right? I told people behind the scenes, like, when Mike comes in, he's one of my favorites because you have the craziest stories. I mean, you have, your life is nuts in the best way possible. Am I lying?
Thank you. I'm flattered.
All right,
I hope so.
We got so much to chat. Music, life, this meditation thing he's got going on. You guys get ready. Mike, before I get to all this stuff, when you walk around, LA or wherever, you get recognized a lot in public? Do people say, "Hey, Posner"?
My music is much more popular than my face, which is pretty good. I'm sure we both spend time with people that are
right,
like just so recognizable that their life becomes somewhat difficult. So I get recognized here and there, and it's like at a volume that I actually can spend like a little time with whoever the recognizer is. If I choose.
What are
There's
they?
not like mobs around, which is nice.
What do they typically say? Like, what do they notice you for music, or do they say stuff like, "Dude, when you walked across America," what do they recognize you for?
It's all over the map. I've had so many different incarnations in my career at this point, but I have noticed a change. When I first started, I was in my early 20s, and my hit song was the new hot boy, and
you're not the new hot boy now.
Yeah, a little older, and so. Back then I would receive like, screaming girls type things. And now often, someone will stop me and say, "Hey, that song really touched me," or, "I got into the Wim Hof method because of you," or "I followed your walk across America and it really inspired me." And often they don't even ask for pictures now. They just really want to, share how something touched them, which is nice.
I get it, man. I know you're just releasing tracks left and right, which is no right or wrong way to do it, clearly. But are you working on a body of music, whether it be an EP, an album, or some sort of give me an update on that.
I'm working on the album. I have no idea how much longer it's going to take.
So just like you don't even know
of it.
when you put together an album, is there typically? I mean, I've never even asked this question. It just kind of hit me. Is there? I mean, some people have an idea like, I'm putting together an album. I'm going to do X amount of songs, between 10 and 12. And then when I get the right 10 or 12, it's done. But I guess some people here's my question, just write a bunch of music. And when it kind of comes together naturally, then you realize, oh, whoa, wow, I've got an album. Is that kind of like almost accidentally in a way? That's a weird question. I know.
No, I sort of have in the back of my head that I want to put together a new project. I do a sort of old fashioned, where I'll simply write songs sometimes for a year or 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I have, 70 songs or something like that. Like right now, since I really made a album, it's been 3 years, I think, because I was doing my walk and my climb of Everest, but still writing songs. So I don't know how many songs I've written in that time, a lot. And I have about 6 that I think are worthy of making the album. So I do it sort of old fashioned like that. And that's my process.
Voice notes or pen and paper or, app. How do you jot your stuff down?
A little both. You see on my notebook here. But
that's the one you keep it with you?
Well, they fill up. So, that one probably has another month or 2 and then I'll get a new one. But I always get that brand. Old-fashioned Mead college ruled 100 sheets.
Why do I love that so much? Something about writing it down with like your hand, writing it down,
It's good. That being said, I do use the phone as well. It's really nice for the voice memos and that kind of thing.
All right, for those of you that'll ask me when Posner's album's coming out, the official answer is I have no idea.
Exactly.
All right.
Like send them a smoke signal. Like, way to answer that question, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, so much to get to. Let me start with what's up with these ice baths?
Oh, sure.
Jesus.
So I started training under Wim Hof.
Which I'll get to that later on too. So don't give too much on that yet.
Okay. Well, he's how I was introduced to the ice bath, really. And this year became a certified Wim Hof instructor.
Right.
And part of the Wim Hof method, there's 3 pillars. Sorry, I'm jumping into
No,
it.
dude, just go. Dude.
We say there's the breath work,
Right.
which is one pillar. The second pillar is gradual cold immersion, which is the ice bath is that. And then the third pillar is growth mindset. So we say in the Wim Hof method, you have a growth mindset as opposed to a comfort mindset. And you asked me about the ice. So the ice bath has been just become a part of my daily ritual. When I'm home, when I'm traveling, it's a little harder to arrange. So I actually am missing doing it. But yeah, there's all sorts of health benefits from using cold immersion. My favorite of which is the mood elevation. So a study where we put people in, what the heck was it? 40-degree water. I think it was 45-degree water.
Oh, God.
And their norepinephrine levels, which is a natural antidepressant, a natural focuser, so you can find in some ADHD medication, but your body can also produce it. Their norepinephrine levels went up 530%.
No kidding.
And simultaneously, their dopamine levels went up 200%. And if you've ever done an ice bath, that's no surprise to you because you get out and you're completely energized. Your mood is completely transformed and elevated. And there is this heightened focus that you feel as well. And for sometimes hours afterwards. So it's something I do like six days a week. And yeah, I love it. And I tell people about it and they love it too.
One of these days, here, I, every time you come in, I try to get in your life and
We
you
should
tell me
bring
no.
one in.
But I want to do it with you.
We should bring one in next time.
Here, I'm talking a big game
Can
now.
we do it here? We have to ask permission?
We'll figure it out. We'll do it. All right. Mike, you mentioned this meditation, this breathing technique, which you're an instructor now. I watched the video of you posted this video. You've been doing this for, you became an instructor. Now you're, teaching this method. You even went to the San Francisco 49ers, and the whole team is getting emotional. That you lie on the ground. I don't know what the process is, but dude, it seems this is serious business. I mean, this is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that? Give me this thing what is it?
Yeah, so the breath work that I am an instructor in is breath work, as just to make a
But breathing is powerful.
Annoying distinction to that in meditation. I do meditate as well, but I'm not an instructor.
Oh, so when I said that, it was kind of offensive?
No, not at all.
Sorry.
I just don't want anyone to think I'm more qualified than I am. So,
gotcha.
I teach the Wim Hof breathwork technique, and it's incredibly powerful. The first time I learned it from Wim, I was in tears. I had this sort of emotional release. It felt like a borderline psychedelic experience. My thinking mind all but just faded away. It felt like every cell in my body was sort of tingling and alive, and it felt like a reintroduction to myself. And it felt like someone had just given me a cheat code to my own body. And I thought, what the heck is this? And so it became a practice I have. And I used it on Mount Everest, which I think maybe we'll talk about later.
100%.
And this last year, actually, I made a decision, I want to be able to teach this and share it in a safe and responsible way. So then I started doing the teacher training. And that's been such a beautiful journey, being able to share this process, like you said, with the San Francisco 49ers, or we just did a session with the Duke men's basketball team, but also like with my mom and my sister-in-law. And it's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And I'd encourage, anyone listening to try it out. There's a Wim Hof app. I think it's free still. There's also some stuff on YouTube you can do, but the best way is in a group. If you can find someone doing a group workshop, an instructor near you, that's like the money.
And the people, like when they take this, you guys, or some people end up crying because it's kind of I guess it's overwhelming. Is that kind of a?
It's not overwhelming. It's like we're teetering a bit on like the ineffable.
Right.
It is one of these things that it's a bit hard to explain until you just do it. But the sensation I've had when I've gotten emotional doing it is one of simply a release. and sometimes they're tears of kind of like joy and beauty, and often there's no thought attached to the emotion. Meaning you're crying, but someone asked me once, like, why are you crying? And I said, I don't know, because I'm not thinking about something sad. There's no memory attached to it. It's just back into my body. And I think if I could really put my finger on it, it's like there's this feeling we go through life and we sometimes kind of fall asleep at the wheel. And this happens for me, you know. It's like months or even years can go by where you're going through the motions and checking the boxes and doing your life, but not necessarily being there for it. And the breath work puts you back in your body and back into the present moment. And so often the tears, I find, are there because you forgot how beautiful it is to be you, to be alive, to be here in this moment. And also, you know, there's a little feeling of, man, I was gone for a while. And this is it, you know, now, right here, I'm in my body in this moment. So I think that's a bit of where the emotion comes from as well.
I've got to try this. I mean, seriously.
You do, man. You do.
All right, Mike, with all this stuff going on, you know, climbing Mount Everest, which of course we'll get to that in a minute, and the breathing method and all. Are you going to do a tour? I mean, do you have time for a tour? Do we even talk about a tour? Is that, that's my question. Are there tour talks happening?
So I'm not super interested in ripping a solo tour at the moment. I think if I put something together with a friend, whether it was like went out with Black Bear or Big Sean or something, that would be cool. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I think doing a bunch of festivals would maybe be fun in the summer or something.
Tour life is kind of crazy, isn't it?
Tour life isn't the best, I think, for mental and physical health, at least for me. But one thing I am sort of experimenting with is, in lieu of doing a tour, creating sort of deeper experiences with me. So we did sort of a proof of concept this fall where I took 16 people on a 12-day trip hiking through the Himalaya, and we ended at Everest Base Camp, just the base camp where the climb starts, and we turned around and came back. And interspersed was breath work, interspersed was acoustic concerts in like these ridiculously beautiful places. And that is a fun model that I'd like to expand. So I think doing a 90-minute show can definitely be a beautiful, transcendent experience. But if you give me people for a week, I mean, I think we can really, I know we can like really.
That's life-changing.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Do something like that.
Yeah. And often it's not me, you know, it's these places like the Himalaya is life-changing without me. So you go and we just add on the breath work, and we add on acoustic shows that's like, you know, just for you and 15 other people. And we can make like really, really, I think, impactful experiences. So if anyone's interested in doing something like that, just follow on social media. We're working on maybe the next one. I'm not ready to announce it because we're still trying to put it together, but can be on the lookout for that.
That's fascinating, man. Do you still write a ton for other people, obviously? How do you write? Speaking of just the writing process, how do you write for other people? You write for yourself, you go inward, you know, you bare your soul. I get that. How do you get in somebody else's brain and pull their soul out?
Well, it's changed a lot in my career. It's about 10, 11 years now.
Right.
Now, to write with another artist, you almost have to be in the room with them. People are much less apt to just sing a song that you wrote than they used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now, if I'm working for another artist,
like you work with Kane Brown for Grand, I believe, right?
Yeah. So we get together, you know, we write, and for that song, I was working mostly on the lyrics, and we're just trying to make it fit for him and hopefully create something that's authentic to them. You know, that's it. We're just being sort of mirrors for each other and hopefully like points of inspiration for one another. And that's all. And then when I'm writing for myself, I'm just letting it out. You know, sometimes these little, I don't know, these things like jog something loose in me, and I'm like, there's something there, there's an idea there, and I just kind of chase it.
When you're writing for somebody else, like Kane Brown, for example, or you wrote with Benny for the BTS, when you're working for them, I would imagine at times like it jogs something loose, like, oh my God, this song is for them, but I have an idea that just hit me for me. Like you kind of almost end up writing for you as well in those sessions.
Yeah, sometimes. And sometimes like we having all these ideas, and the artist is like, no, and you're kind of like, dang, well, maybe I'll say that for me because I kind of like it,
No, terrible song, terrible.
The no's, it's like it's not from it's a bad idea. It's from it's not right for me,
right?
Or it doesn't resonate with me. And all of us, I think, man, you've done this long enough. Like you can hear when someone's singing a song, and it's like they're just trying. They're trying to make a hit, or they're trying to do this or that, and it's not quite connecting, and it just feels kind of fake and repulsive and
just hollow and
and you can tell the difference as a listener, so we it's important that they say no, and yes when it does resonate.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was just talking to Kim Petras about working with Sam Smith, and they basically had a bunch of no's back and forth before they landed on Unholy.
Mm-hmm.
And that process of no, not a bad song, but just not right for, and sure enough, when you pick the right one, man, it's magic, for sure.
That's what it is. It's magic. That's the right word.
My bud, Mike Posner. Can I call you my bud?
Sure.
You're my friend. I mean,
absolutely.
We do need to take our relationship to the next level. We'll get to that later. Anyway, yeah, not to freak you out. I'm Not Dead Yet. This track, Mike, it's beautiful but morbid, but it's just so you. It's just talk about this track.
Yeah, this song is about.
I'm glad you're not dead.
Me too, man. Me too. This song is about the inextricable link between beauty and sadness. In most forms of beauty, there is a tinge of sadness. And most forms of sadness, there is a tinge of beauty. And I thought, we're writing this song, and I thought, if we can sort of try to capture that, something I haven't necessarily done yet as a writer, and so that's what it's about.
Mike, I've got a couple of questions here about Mount Everest, dude. First of all, the training, you climbed, before you even get to Mount Everest, you climbed 71 mountains, if this info is correct, to prepare to climb. First of all, how do you, where are 71 mountains? How do you get to 71? that would take forever in itself. Talk about the preparation before you get to the Mount Everest.
Sure, absolutely. Well, in 2019, I did this crazy project. I walked across America, and it was during that journey that I started to dream about Mount Everest in sort of a real way, knowing that, I think I can do this. It's going to be the hardest thing I ever do, but look at me now. I'm walking across America. This is hard too. So that dream started to slowly mutate from a dream into a plan, and it became the focus of my life for 18 months. So you asked about the preparation. It was 18 months, a year and a half. Just sort of all in. And I had a coach who went from a coach to a brother. And he was just in like full control of my life, meaning not in a bad way, but I said, this is the most important thing to me right now, my first priority. So he would schedule out my calendar, and then I'd kind of run the rest of my life between climbing on the days he gave me off. And so I said, early in the process, I said, I want to climb Everest, but I have no interest in going there if I don't belong there. And he said, if you don't belong there, I won't let you go. And so we just...
And he had climbed Everest before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how he's qualified to be my coach.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Some dude off the street.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we just set off on this journey of transforming me from someone who had never worn crampons or held an ice axe into someone who belonged on Mount Everest. And as you can imagine, that was horribly hard. horribly hard, and moments of blood, literal blood, moments obviously of sweat, and definitely moments of tears too. But yeah, a year and a half later, we found ourselves at Everest Base Camp in the spring.
Mike, training, year and a half, you went through hell to get to the point where you belonged on Mount Everest. Here's the day. You show up, you're at base camp. And base camp, basically, I've watched so many documentaries on this. I feel crazy. I'm so pumped to talk to you about this. I've watched so many docs on this. And you get to base camp, basically to acclimate your body, because the elevation is crazy. So you have to get to a point where you can survive on less oxygen. I think it's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah.
So you get there, and tell me this experience.
Well, it's somewhat surreal. You're right. Base camp lies at 17,300 feet. So just base camp is very uncomfortable to be at. Body is not happy being there, but you slowly get a little more used to it. At the same time, the longer the expedition goes on, and ours was exceptionally long, you just get worn out being up that high for that long. You start to notice, hey, like my mind isn't working the same way. I can't remember that person's name or that city's name. And what you won't find in a lot of the documentaries, because it would make for a boring documentary, is how long you have to wait for good weather. So it's a very mental process. Every day we get weather reports from meteorologists, and we put together the different reports, which always vary a little bit, and make a decision as to, I think this is a good day to go. And that's an important decision.
If you pick the wrong day, people die.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Yeah. And so another thing is, like, why I say it's very mental is like, it's uncomfortable to be there. You want to go home, and you can't let wanting to go home dictate what day you go up, because you need to go up on the best weather day. And often there's a force tugging at you to be impatient and to go maybe sooner than you should, because you want to be back in comfort. So that's a real exercise in mental sort of patience and strength. And I mean, I almost quit many times, JoJo.
God.
Many times when you got people going up and coming back with frostbite on all their fingers, or you people going up and not coming back at all, wondering, why am I here again?
So while you were there, some of the other climbers in different groups lost people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the year I was there, maybe 4 or 6 people passed.
Jesus.
Yeah, which is absolutely normal. The death rate on Everest is 1%, and that's about what it was when I was there.
Not to be morbid, but when you're walking up, once again, I've seen way too many docs on this. I find it so fascinating. When you're walking up Mount Everest, there are people that have passed frozen on the sides of the mountain, and maybe they're covered with layers of ice and whatnot. So I don't know if you could see these unfortunate people on the sides of the mountain, but you can't get them down, because it would kill both people to get this person down, most likely. So as you're climbing, that's what you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big journey. So, you've been walking for days and days. They're not like, heaps and piles of bodies, but every once in a while, you see bodies there, and they freeze also, so if a body ends up a certain place, it can just stay there like for decades.
Wow.
So some of the bodies are old, and some of them are ones that were foolish people like you that were alive, a week ago. And so it's really, you might ask, well, why put yourself through that? And for me, it was like a calling I couldn't silence. I had to go. And you can imagine what you might learn about yourself in such an extreme environment. One thing I learned about myself was I can handle the pressure and actually show up for myself like when the pressure's on. And, it's like, give me the ball in the fourth quarter. And it's a pretty valuable thing to know about myself, like at my worst, at my absolute worst. I could get the job done.
Dude, you did it. You freaking did that, dude.
And being up at that summit after that year and a half and all the things we went through to get there is the best moment of my life, And you can't explain it, and you can't replicate it either. I was like we talked about earlier, I was in Nepal just going to base camp, and I saw Everest again, and I was looking at it and just weeping, remembering the sort of urgency in the moment and like how real and immediate life is there. What an experience. What an experience.
I could talk about this for hours, man. I really could. It's just, I find it super fascinating.
Like to be approaching the summit and we time it perfectly to see the sunrise from the highest place in the world. And, people don't realize, but mountains have shadows. So to see Mount Everest's, gargantuan pyramidal shadow being cast hundreds of miles. People ask, like, what was it cloudy? Like the clouds were way below us, or they asked, like, was it a nice day? And we had a pretty good summit day, but there's cloud cover, but like similar to an airplane, way above the clouds. And we're just watching that shadow cast on hundreds of miles into Tibet. It's like, you can't, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
I'll leave it at that. That's something, man. Mike, here's a question. This is for me. I am obsessed, just like you are with a lot of things. I'm obsessed with the paranormal. Ghost, UFOs. I've got a podcast called Paranormalish. This is not just something I do like around October and whatnot. This is year round for me. Have you ever had, and part of me thinks you must have with all the places you've been. Have you ever had a paranormal encounter?
No. I mean,
would you be even open to that? Do you
don't believe in like ghosts like that.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
I'm not sure. I mean, none of us really know. When, I had a sort of brush with death on my walk across America where I got bit by this rattlesnake.
Right.
And prior to that, I really had like some strong theories about the afterlife. But when I got bit by that snake, it sort of felt like the lights were going out. And there was no like light at the end of the tunnel or like anything like that. And so that sort of put a dink in my theories.
But maybe you weren't, well, maybe so. I mean, nobody knows really. But maybe you didn't die. Maybe that's the reason.
I agree. What I'm saying is I don't really know.
Yeah,
I would like to think there's some part of me that goes on. Hopefully not the part that like gets annoyed when people chew near my ear or like, I'm hoping that I could leave those sort of like, what do they call them? I forgot the word, but like
when
idiosyncrasies.
Oh, gotcha.
But or pet peeves. Hopefully I leave like all those things behind in this life, But I've definitely had like spiritual experiences. Experiences that, for example, Camp 4 at Everest, we're getting ready for the summit push. I had this, like, I closed my eyes to rest and had what I could really only describe as like a psychedelic type experience. Though I wasn't on a psychedelic, obviously. I was seeing all sorts of like kind of sacred geometry. My eyes were closed, but I was seeing like sort of sacred geometry and wild colors and lattice work and things of that nature, accompanied with like a feeling of sort of peace and beauty and being in touch with my heart kind of thing. And
wonder what that is. Like skeptics would say lack of oxygen, mind does crazy things and whatnot.
I mean, definitely part of it.
But still, no, I mean, I couldn't say, yeah, I would think there's something there.
The other thing, like I've done 4 of these solitary retreats in my life.
Oh, wow.
Where I go to this place, this monastery, or it's a retreat center, a Buddhist retreat center. And they have these little cabins, very simple, like very small cabins. There's no like kind of like propane thing and a little single mattress, and that's it. And like no running water and no electricity kind of thing. And you can rent it out, and they drive you up there and just leave you.
Oh man!
And then they pick you up when your time's done. And the deepness of presence that one can achieve, when they just can sort of put your thinking mind to the side, is definitely like incongruent with like normal life for sure, in a major way, in a major way. So I don't know if I would call that paranormal or spiritual or what I would call that, but definitely had some like altered states of consciousness for sure.
Well, should you ever have one on some, if you're a hotel that's haunted, something happens, bank it for me. I want to hear about it later.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your POV on that for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, we talked about how you've written for everyone, Bieber, Big Time Rush, Snoop, Big Sean, among others, Nick Jonas. Who else? Give me like a little sneak peek. Who else? Are you working on some stuff that you can leak out,
Really recently I've been working on my own stuff, so I don't have a big list of other artists.
So when you do like you have to focus on like you or other people, you don't like kind of back and forth kind of a thing?
Yeah, I like to have sort of a main thing I'm doing at any given time in my life, and I found that, if I focus on one sort of thing, not saying you can't do anything else, but that thing is the focus.
Right.
Then I usually can be successful at that one thing, so it's like while I'm training for Everest, I'm not making an album. While I'm walking across America, I'm not focused on Justin Bieber's album, so I find like it's better to do one thing really well than kind of like 4 things. Okay. So yeah.
That's a life lesson right there.
Yeah. That being said, man, I've been in with Black Bear recently, working on perhaps our next group project. We have a group together called Mansions. So
I love that dude, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Something about him. What is it about Black Bear?
He's a very real person, and his heart is very pure, and he's been through a lot of stuff
right
in his life, which I think creates a level of compassion. Like if you're interacting with him and you're going through something, is a sort of a feeling like he gets it. So I think that's part of it as well.
It shows through his music for sure. And he was here the other day. He was just in the building. I wasn't even scheduled to talk with him, but I bumped into him. My daughter was with me, and he was just so nice to Sophie, and just, I saw his new tattoo. He has new gorillas tattoo and whatnot. He's just the best dude ever. Mike, I'd be curious to know this. What album or artist, like when you were a kid, but before you were an artist, you were a fan. What album or artist changed your life? For me, it was Thriller from Michael.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Gosh, there's so many. Both of us just being supreme fans of music, but sort of on my holy grail or like desert island thing, I have 4 albums. One is Continuum, John Mayer. Another's I'm Wide Awake It's Morning by Bright Eyes. Third is Quem and I by Outkast. And 4th is Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder.
Dude, you have thought this through, haven't you?
Well, I mean, absolutely, man. People always ask me, what's your favorite albums? It's like, I can't narrow it down to one, but those are like, there's so many great albums that have been made, and often, what does that word mean, great? Like, we're talking usually about its impact on culture and society. And what does that really mean, impact on culture and society? It's really impact on individuals.
Right.
So we're talking about a very personal change that happens within individual people, but then if it happens to enough people, there's a change in the actual culture. But simultaneously, an album can have that very personal change in you, and not make as much of a rift in the world. But those are just 4 that have really touched me musically and emotionally, and there's so many. I will flag one other song, "Moment of Truth" by Gangstar is a song that is sort of been a lifeline in moments of darkness, moments of depression. And also I remember in high school there was I was just like going through it. I was dark in high school, man. It was hard for me, especially in the winter in Michigan. It gets real gray, and I was just depressed, man. I was real depressed, and I remember there was it was back when we had CDs.
Yeah.
And there was like in one of the classrooms there was like the CD, and it said brown sugar on it. Like someone had written brown, like they had lost it. And it was just like sitting on this like counter for like a week, and I was like, they're not coming back for this. I'm gonna take it. And I took it and I put it on, and I still to this day I don't know what this, because before Shazam, this song came on. It was a hip hop song, and I remember it just felt like someone got it. And it didn't cure my depression, but it made me feel less alone. Almost like it was like I'd been like in a nasty house where all the windows were closed, and someone opened the window. That's what it felt like listening to this song. Someone opened the window.
And you still don't know what that song was?
I still don't know what it was. I lost the CD, and I don't know.
Was it called Brown Sugar?
No, that's like someone had named. It was like a mix.
Oh, right.
It was like all different artists and stuff, and they had named their CD that they had created.
God, now this mystery is going to be. Does that drive you crazy not knowing what that track was? Now that we're thinking about it,
I mean. Yes and no. It's enough to know that like it made that impact for me, and it found me at that time, and to like get it back right now. I don't know what it was, and I guess the best frame is to just be grateful for that moment that it found me then, and not dwell on that I don't know what it is now.
Mike, a lot of this interview,
approaching climax.
We're approaching the summit of Mount Everest right now. Hey, a lot of this interview has been kind of serious, but this is a question I ask you every time you come in.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
You know what?
No, don't
I'm
do
going to do it because you're going to say no, but I'm going to throw Mike, give me a chance to pitch this.
Okay, fine.
And I will do this.
I was talking to my first manager in the lobby when I was pulling up here. And I said, he has like a whole life now, different job. He's been working music. I said, I'm going to talk to JoJo, because you remember he took me in here 10 years ago. And I said, he's going to do that bit. He's going to ask me, so here we go.
Look, okay, I know you're going to say no, but this is just for tradition now. But I'm going to throw a wrinkle. Okay, here's the question you're going to say no. Mike, is there any chance I could be on any track of yours, just in the background, like a gang vocal?
No.
Okay, there we go. Got that out of the way.
When I first came in here the first time,
it was probably 15 years ago.
You're trying so hard to like get a song on the radio, and like my first song is just gonna, I mess it up, and it's like big deal, man. You're talking to JoJo, and you like want to make a good impression. He's gonna have you back, and he asked me this question: can he be on one of my songs? And like, I had to actually think about it, because it's like, oh man, but then it was like, you can't just be putting random people on your songs.
I know,
your career is gonna end, dude.
Clearly, it's okay. So here's my.
I'm trying to say it wasn't so clear the first time. You were joking, but I was in a conundrum.
Oh God! Hey,
no. Now it's obvious. Definitely no.
Clearly, I should not be on your album or anybody else's. But okay, here's what I would love to do one of these days. And this is.
And
stuff,
didn't you convince someone?
There was somebody that put me on
Wasn't it like Akon did it or something?
No, it wasn't Akon. It was a group, I forget which group. They let me be on their album, but they put me in one of the little skits in between the songs.
Yeah, you started telling me that. So-and-so put me on their album, and I'm like, oh man, like, they're not going to play me on this radio station.
Stop it.
If I don't do a song with this guy. I'm like, this is what they talk about, where you have to sacrifice your morals. And
there's no sacrificing God. Okay, okay. Here's what I would love to do, and I've done this before.
Moment of strength. I said no.
You did fine. You passed the test, young Posner at the time. Hey, I would love to come sit in the studio, not to be on your album. I don't want to be on the album. I would love to come watch you work someday, when it's a time where it's not just you being like, digging deep into your by yourself, one of those solitary moments. I would love to come watch you work. Honestly, not be on the album. I would like to come see you work.
It's a lot more boring than you think.
It is, I know. But I would love to see like a vocal session and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that wasn't right. Oh, yeah. Oh, doing that like 95 times.
On second thought, maybe I don't want to be there.
People always want to come to the studio and they get in there and they're like, okay, I got it.
Dude, all right.
You guys try 1,000 times until you get it right.
That's kind of me in the studio at times. It's here. Like, I want to go watch you do a radio show, Joe. I'm like, no, you don't. It's just, it's the worst,
Yeah.
Mike, of course, quick recap. I'm Not Dead Yet. This track is out. Get on it. Tell me if I have any of this wrong. More music coming soon, a body of work, an album at some point, not sure when. The breathing technique.
Yeah.
The
Wim
class
Hof breathwork.
Wim Hof breathwork. If people want to do this with you, how do they connect with Mike Posner? Not just the method, but with you.
Sure. The best way is just to follow all the normal places on social media. I'm in there, Mike Posner, MikePos, N like Nancy, ER. Be on the lookout for any breathwork workshops. Also some adventures with Mike.
And that's going to launch it. You're hoping like maybe in 23, something like that? Or?
Yeah.
Dude, that'll be exciting. I would love to do,
Yeah, you should come on.
I want to do an ice bath and a breathing method. Seriously, at some
you should
point.
come on one of these things. We do all that and
Okay.
And more.
Mike, am I forgetting anything? Anything else people need to know?
No. Just remember, you're not alone. Keep going. Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going.
There it is. Mike, at the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official. Give me a little
boom.
I am. There you go.